The meeting, January 24th. So everybody had a chance to review the minutes. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor of approving the minutes of November 29th? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
who disapprove, say nay. So minutes are approved. So our first application here is number 2427S, 2-lot subdivision, John and Tracy Harris. You, John and Tracy Harris.
Yes.
We'll have to swear you in on this. Anything that you state on this is the truth to the best of your knowledge. Agree with that?
Yes.
So it's a 2-lot subdivision, 4 acres and 6.27, 6.17. This lot here, the smaller of the two, the 4 acres, that's where your house is right now? So what road is that on?
Farley Road.
Farley Road. So Farley Road. Take a turn right there along your property or?
Turn in the road, right where our property is.
Yeah. Is that what I'm not totally clear on what I'm looking at here. It looks like it takes a 90-degree right there.
Not quite 90s, but that's the town road.
Right.
And we're right beside it. Just past the big barn.
Are you familiar with this lot, Tom?
Yeah.
Could you show me just where the town road is here?
You want to come the,
Is this the town road here?
this is the town.
That's the town road.
Yes.
I'm right up through here.
Mhm.
And how far does it continue out into there?
Well, maybe John can explain.
Tom was just saying this is the town road going down through.
This is the right of way.
So that's going to be the proposed road.
This is gonna be, it's already there, the right of way. We own all this, we've owned all this.
Yeah.
We want to subdivide off here, this and sell the original 4.
And the town road is where then?
Great.
I can't really stand that. So
This is town. Also a 90-degree turn right there.
So this lot right here will need road frontage, and I'm assuming that this is a proposed road and it continues up through here.
Yep.
Is that what the deal is? Both sides of the line?
Well, this is private road. This is just between us and in our barn right here. 50-foot right away through here, crosses the brook. The only road frontage is 4 acres.
Right. So our rules state that we have to have 150 feet of road frontage on a public or private road. So that's where I'm kind of getting at here without this becoming a private road.
Well, it will be the road.
Right,
It is right now.
right,
Yeah, this
So
road
then-
through there, now there's a culvert, and it's all, you can drive on it with a car.
right.
I call it right away, but I guess you can call it.
So the other definition of a road is that it is the primary access for two or more lots.
Yep.
So this lot here would be the primary access off this road.
Yep.
And then this one here.
Yes.
So the other thing is this has to extend up into here or take a turn or whatever so that you have 150 feet of road frontage on the actual road for this lot.
From this lot, from this line, original 4 acres.
So what is this highlighted line?
That's the original 4 acres.
That's the original.
4.2.
So,
And then we added this. Tim did not Tim, Matt Reed did a line adjustment here, so he just basically took that away and added this to this forward already.
okay,
So now
so,
we're putting it back, we're gonna keep this and sell this.
so wherever the line for this lot is, from that point, it has to have 150
Oh, yeah.
feet of road frontage.
Funny, yeah,
Um,
off of this road.
off of this
Yep.
road, which means measured along the side here.
Yep,
The
actual whole road goes right up the center of the field. That's his all field.
But that would be, a designated portion of it. The rest of it, is, it's just your road. It's,
Yeah,
but for access purposes, this has to meet our requirements. That includes the construction of a road.
the road's already there.
Is that a town road going up through that lot?
No,
No.
A private road.
no.
Yeah.
It's private owned.
Being that it's, does that need to conform to highway standards?
It does, yeah. So by, my stating that it has to meet, road standards, Wolcott actually has highway standards. Even though they're designed for the town of Wolcott roads, when we, allow people to use a private road for a subdivision purposes, we kind of hold them to that standard also. And it goes by, number of average vehicle trips per day. So, with just accessing 2 lots, it's probably gonna be the minimum of whatever it is.
Yeah, the back lot won't be accessed much because there's nothing there,
Right.
just a field.
Right. Um. Then. Lot shade. So how much road frontage does your original lot have? I guess it's gonna be the 4 acres that you're gonna. Does it have at least 150?
Oh, yeah. Yep,
I can't tell off this.
yep.
Maybe it's 402.
Say that much.
Yeah, that's the only dimension I see there.
Yeah, it's well over 150 feet.
Maxfield's not online yet. Have any other particular questions about this before I start the regular?
Nope, no, the only thing that I saw when I looked at it was the road frontage and making sure that that road was gonna fit between the existing buildings. I thought it ran between the house and the barn,
Yes.
to make sure that,
So the house and the barn, yeah. Um. So yeah, your house would want to be. I think it's only 25 feet off the right of way of the road. Do you think you're gonna be able to? Do that, with the house and the barn, do you have? 100 feet basic, or, yeah, it would be 100 feet between them,
Between the barn and the house,
yeah.
for what reason?
Well, because you have your 50 foot right of way for the road, right? And then our zoning is 25 feet off the road, I believe it's off the right of way. Setback, am I wrong on that?
Yeah, that might be
Off the right of way.
up the right of way. From a row on the property line.
Yes.
Right.
So do you have that much
Between
room?
the barn and the house, no way.
No, not 100 feet.
It's never been that way. It used to be an old farmhouse there. It's never been that way.
Right. What you're proposing here is something new though, so it's not really grandfathered on that. I mean, if the house was up against the town road, I mean, there's houses up against the town roads that are closer than 25 feet, but they're pre-existing. We wouldn't let anybody build a house like that today. Nor can we really allow a road to go in like that. To create something that's going to be non-conforming. Is that the only place? I mean, that's where the existing roughed-in road is why you want to use that.
Well, I have another one before the barn, but
It,
that wouldn't work.
it loops around the barn,
So around the
either
back side of the
way.
barn and then shoots across the culvert where it takes over under our lot.
Right?
There again, there's a shed there too, so. I've never heard of this.
Well, it's
Is that
basically,
something new?
no, it's actually been like that since I moved to town in 1984.
My grandfather's house was there in 48. He died. He tore that house or burned that house down and then he built a house right on the existing lot. Never any problems there.
Well, because it was probably pre-existing and you were just.
Always a 50-foot right away through there for the rest of the farmland.
Yeah, so road setbacks. Shall be applied from any public right of way, private street or driveway easement. But that's from the. Setback. District, this is. Is in the rural district, Tom. So actually, it did change a little bit. When I first moved here, it was 50 feet off the road. but that was measured from the edge of the road. And now it's changed to 25 feet, and I believe it's from the actual easement of the road, you know, up to 50 foot and not the physical road.
Basically 25 feet from any boundary line.
And 25, well, the road has to be, I think the road could be within 10 feet of a boundary line, can it? The road can be within 10 feet of a boundary line, can it? Oh, the actual road,
The road could be.
yeah, so it's more the buildings, and when you put the road in there, all of a sudden you're changing the setbacks of what the buildings are.
Even though they've been there for 100 years.
Yes, because the road hasn't been.
No, the road,
Right away's always
We-
been there.
the road between the house and the barn's always been there. The road from the culvert behind the house to that field, that's all that's new.
But that, at that point, that road wasn't being used to access a separate lot that's being subdivided. Am I
That was farmland.
understanding correctly?
Right.
Farmland.
It's not going to be identified as a private road serving a rear
So,
lot.
so now you're changing this access road to a private road to meet the definitions of the road frontage that you need.
More of a driveway now instead of a right of way. It's still private. It's always been private.
Right?
I don't know how people do it then.
Well, you know, without road front, I mean, you're kind of in a unique situation. Most people that come in here they're not trying to squeeze a road in between two buildings. That's where you're coming into a problem here,
We're just gonna use it because it already exists.
right? And I can understand that.
Looking at the satellite image though. Actually, it is marked here. I wonder if they could get their frontage. There's another, it looks like there's another road that exists between a hoop barn and the river.
No,
Oh, okay.
that's my brother's.
One.
The next one up between the Quonset hut and the barn is a right of way through there.
Be in the same, it looks like you'll be in the same boat. There's a road back there that meets what it needs to meet.
I should need a highway to get to the houses. That's kind of ridiculous.
But I think part of the problem is, that 6 acres could further be subdivided and serve, 3 or 4 houses. And, 3 houses. And if it were to serve those 3 houses, the road you guys plan to use just to get to this back lot is now a driveway for 3 different homes between a house and a barn. I mean, 100 years from now,
Yeah, never know.
what does that look like?
Right.
I think that's the intent of the way these things are written.
I'll do some measurements, but I have a hard time thinking it's there.
So if there was a way to get your 150 feet of road frontage on the Corley Road, your driveway could still go in where you're trying to have it go in. Just wouldn't be a road at that point. But I don't know if you have enough room there or if you want to carve that lot up even in a more strange manner.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I do some measurement. I can measurements, I'll find out.
Yeah, it's,
So between the barn and the house, it's gotta be 100 feet.
well, the 50-foot right of way, and then you gotta be 25 feet away from the right of way for both the house and the barn. I don't know if there's, I mean, is the barn still being used agriculturally?
No,
No,
No.
hasn't since 1980.
storage.
I don't know if there was any kind of exemptions for agricultural buildings or not.
Is the Jeff's barn you're talking about?
The
The
big one.
barn, yeah,
The big one.
There is another road on the other side of it.
right, yeah,
That'd be tight too. Let's get the lower sheds. Back a little bit.
I didn't notice the other road. Seen the one by the river.
Yeah, there's. He owns the one by the river. And he just gave her right away. Jason back shoulder and,
Ian Brown, or Adam
out of the
Brown.
drain.
It's access to their property,
Yeah.
that's their access.
Jason.
Be a conforming lot.
And it's what, 300 acres or something.
That back.
227.
What I was thinking, as long as it was 150 feet wide, but well, now it makes this lot kind of funny. Road could go here.
Yeah, there's gotta be a way. You just don't know what that looks like.
It's just, I don't know. How big that brook is.
Right. So you're telling me I couldn't even sell the 4 acres unless I have that done first?
You can't really subdivide until you have road frontage for that. You have access to that back lot, yeah.
They're selling it all as one.
Move your house.
Big sledgehammer, right into the brook.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your time. Figure it out.
Matt working on. Oh, Matt, is he working on the big?
Well, yeah, you said let me know how the meeting goes, so. Yeah, we're saying about basically 100-foot right of ways now. Ridiculous.
Well, it's not 100 foot right of way.
Well, but you can't do anything within 100 feet, so you might as well be 100-foot right.
Well, it is.
Feet you can't touch.
It is. Yeah,
But you pay taxes on it. Can't touch it. Thanks a lot, Seth. Thank you very much.
so I guess with that, we're closing out 2427S for a while.
Would you like to postpone this hearing? Not close it right now?
We can do that. I mean, they're gone. I don't know if they're gonna be able to come up with a plan that's gonna be acceptable to them. So. I mean, we can certainly postpone it for a month. Maybe they'll get back,
I think it'd be prudent to do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that they don't have to make another application.
exactly.
Yeah. All right.
On to the next one.
All right. So I guess the next thing we have on the agenda is approve the findings and decision on 2416S, the Monaco subdivision. Everybody had a chance to review these. Any comments? A motion to approve these minutes for number 2416S, David Modica.
I was second it.
Okay, all in favor of approving 24S, say aye.
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 All against, say nay. Hearing no nays. Before the minutes for 2416S are approved. All right, so next thing on the agenda is the Ryan Field review revised plan. Have anything up here for that, Tom? This is the one here.
I have, so my name's Luke Willie from Mumley Engineering.
Okay.
Here representing, Ryan, and I've got a couple plans I'll throw up here. I've also have some printouts of, correspondence and the most revised plans I can give you guys. See what we're talking about here tonight.
I think that was email. to me.
Yes.
I had some.
Yeah. So if you'd like, I can just give you a brief explanation of kind of why we're here. So this is a project that was, you guys seen a couple times this fall. And so in October, it was approved with conditions. There were a few things that we needed to revise. And we made those revisions and resubmitted revised plans that the board looked at and approved on the November agenda. And so everything has been approved. The board has seen both of these plans and approved them. And so now we're just kind of at the final stage of filing the Mylar. And there was a little bit of confusion about what exactly that should entail for this project. And so I think that's why we're here, is to just make sure that we're all on the same page about what exactly the Mylar is going to look like that the board will sign and that will be filed in land records. And so what we're proposing, and what, you know, is kind of typical for these projects in our experience, is that what we would be filing for the Mylar is the surveyed plat, which is the same document that you guys again reviewed and approved at the November hearing.
We did not approve it. We approved the engineers.
Okay.
I hadn't seen this because.
Okay. Well, then I guess what we would be requesting tonight then is that the board approve the subdivision plat for filing as the Mylar in the town records. And again, there are no revisions to the design or anything, you know, from what was approved. I think the only difference between these two plans, you know, Mumley Engineering are not licensed surveyors, right? So whenever, you know, we do a project like this, we have, you know, we handle the civil end of things and the state wastewater permitting and that sort of thing. And then we team up with a surveyor to handle the surveying part of that. And as part of that, you know, they generate the survey plat, which is generally what gets filed as a Mylar in the land records. So these two pieces of information, you know, one is generated by the surveyor, one is generated by us. They contain, all the information is consistent, right? So we're all of the property lines, you know, rights of way, easements, all that kind of stuff is all, you know, based on, so the survey, you know, includes the kind of legal, you know, end of all those lines. And we use the surveyor's information as a base for our plan to then further detail out the proposed conditions, the house layout, the wastewater, all that kind of stuff is detailed on this. But in terms of the legal requirements of the survey and what gets filed in the land records, that would be this document. So just want to kind of, that's why we're here tonight, is just to make sure that we're on the same page with the board with regards to that. And again, this document is what, so when we would, again, what we would propose is that we create a Mylar of this document with the required signature blocks, right? That the board chair would sign, as well as the town clerk, and get filed in the land records.
So the one you're showing there is with the shaded in. So this one, this actual Mylar here.
So this, yeah, so that's not the actual Mylar. This is just a, is that Mylar? Okay, maybe that's what I guess we had previously. Yes, yeah.
So I guess, you know, the questions that we had is why was it shaded? You know, we understand why it's shaded now and cross hatched and everything.
Yeah, so as part of the survey, kind of process, so there were two additional pieces of information that the landowner wanted to include on the Mylar and be placed into the town records that didn't have anything to do with the zoning process, right? And those two things were an easement for the proposed pond that would benefit the existing house. And then also a view shed easement also to benefit the existing house. Neither of those things are requirements of the zoning process. You know, those things aren't required by zoning or regulated by zoning. But the landowner wanted to include those on the survey just for civil purposes between these two eventual landowners. There would be something in the land records to preserve their right to have this pond, and to preserve a view shed for that existing house. So those are two pieces of those are the only two pieces of information that are not included on our site plan, because again, those are not zoning issues. Those are just civil, you know, easement issues that the owner wanted to make sure were preserved in the land records just for purely civil purposes.
Mm-hmm. I hate to say this, but I'm seeing on this print the same issue that we had with the last applicants. There's a barn on the upper part of that road that is in the right of way.
Yeah, and I remember, I thought one of the conditions when they designed the road for the paving to deal with the slope, part of that was a redesign around that.
So I wasn't part of that, you know, again, I'm kind of pinch hitting a little bit here. Tyler is more still at another hearing tonight, but I did discuss and review with him the kind of the project history on this, and I looked at the minutes that detailed those conditions. And as far as I know, and as far as I understand, again, according to the minutes and everything, this was all approved previously at the previous hearings. So again, there's no changes here. This is all exactly as was discussed and approved.
By approved, it meant that it made it through the sketch plan review.
Right,
Yeah.
but that's it.
Okay.
And actually, this came to us after that meeting.
Right. But the project was approved though.
Yes.
In November.
This is Maxwell. I don't know if you can hear me. I'll second what Jim said. When we look at the sketch, I think it would have been pretty obvious if there was a right of way infringing on a structure.
Yeah, I don't know if we still have that original sketch or
I
not.
mean, yeah, we should really go back and look at the
Folder. I mean, it's a pretty busy sketch, I know. This isn't the original. This shows the revised law.
These are the original.
Topics a little, are the wastewater, the proposed wastewater locations, are those permitted by the state? Are they currently permitted?
I'm not sure if the permits have actually been issued.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my follow-up question to that is, do our Mylars need to have permitted utility locations like septic systems? I'm not sure if those need to be filed in the land records or if that's.
Get filed on the land.
It's not what the regulations say.
Okay.
Yeah. My knowledge.
Yeah, Michael, if they're existing, they need to be on there and if they're proposed, I'd have to check on that one. They might, those also might be required.
Yeah, I thought if they were proposed but permitted, that they needed to be on there, but I don't know.
That sounds familiar, but yeah.
I'm looking at those regulations right now. It definitely talks about existing conditions.
Mhm.
But I don't see anything about proposed.
Okay.
Becomes a driveway there. So this original sketch that we have shows the barn on there, but the road stops before the barn. Then it becomes a driveway. Which is what we kind of gonged on it. We did not, this road had to extend up into here. It's actually,
There is
it's
an
actually,
existing building there.
yeah, it's actually calling it a driveway. And, we don't really regulate.
Well, this right of way was here. This right of way is here. That's shown right here.
But it's a driveway. We were saying, well, it's gotta be a road. And yes, ideally, yes, we would have caught that, but
Yeah. Well,
Again, as far as I understand the process and again, looking at the minutes, like I don't believe we're here to kind of rehash any aspect of the project. I believe the project has been approved.
It's been conditionally approved.
Well, I think it
Conditionally
was-
approved.
I think it was conditionally approved in October and then finally approved in November is what I understand. Again, I'm looking at the minutes.
It was fine. There was a final approval
In November.
with none of the board members seeing a Mylar.
Well, the Mylar is the last step after all the approvals are done. Then you have,
Right, but we would have seen the mock-up of the Mylar for final approval, and I don't recall seeing that.
it's in the minutes. I mean, we submitted a revised plan. And that it was approved. It's in the minutes from 11/29.
Well, it says approved overall site plan by Mumley Engineering Plan dated October 10th, 2023.
But one of the conditions of final approval is looking at the Mylar and making sure the Mylar conforms
Right.
with everything.
We did have conditions on that.
Well, I think again, my understanding is that there were two hearings here, right? So the first hearing was in October.
Let me clear it up where, okay, there was one hearing, October.
Yeah.
November, they looked at that engineering sketch, which they conditionally approved pending tomorrow. That's where we're at.
I'm just reading through the minutes here.
What you're looking at is a draft. Which can.
Right, so this is October, right? It was approved. Approved contingent upon conditions, right, in October. And then we submitted those revisions. And that plan was reviewed and approved in November. Right, that's my understanding.
Not by me, to my recollection. I don't know if somebody else remembers anything different, but
Or these are the minutes? Am I misunderstanding the minutes from the November hearing?
I know, Terry. The second one is they conditionally approved that plan, the engineering plan.
Okay,
And
Because the paving was listed and we had the road frontage, but we still hadn't seen the Mylar. This is the first we've had a meeting with that in front of us.
right, but it's the same. That's what, I guess that's my point is this is exactly the same as the mile.
It does show the building in that driveway right of way on that original sketch that we looked at way back in October. I'm not, it's a pretty busy print, but I did miss that. And then the new print is essentially that road is pretty much right where that driveway was. And it still shows that building pretty much in it.
Jim, I have a semi-unrelated question that you're looking at. Was the slope and surfacing addressed at some point? I remember that when we received a copy from Tom for preliminary review, there was some question as to whether that was ultimately addressed.
It's not on the Mylar, but I don't really think it has to be. It has to be in the actual permit, the subdivision permit. I mean, that would be my view of it anyway.
does it need to be a note on the survey? And a location?
That I don't know.
I mean, the survey isn't documenting proposed conditions other than the survey lines, right? That's the purpose of the survey. Both of these plans are, I mean, they're both legal documents, right? This plan becomes a part of the zoning record, right? But typically, the information necessary for recording is typically what's included on the survey plat, in
in my experience.
How big is that barn? That's fairly sizable, is it?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's, probably a 25 by 30 or so.
View easement and the pond easement prohibit the ability to put a driveway that conforms with our zoning laws to lot 3. I mean, because the entire road frontage where a driveway would need to go is shaded by those areas. I'm just not sure
No,
what the legal definition of a driveway would fall
no,
into that.
no. I think the view shed is really just like, so that lot 3 can't, build a house or, plant, trees or whatever that are gonna impede a view shed. Yeah.
Is the topography such there that that road cannot be moved to avoid that barn?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, right now. I know, Ryan was having trouble getting onto the Zoom hearing, but did say that I could call him. Would that be appropriate for me to get him on the phone? Is that okay if I give that a try and just see if we can get his input on this? It's not. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to make promises here on behalf of our client without getting his input here. I would agree that, I mean, that would seem to be a solution. I do know that I think part of that road might be existing, so I'm not sure exactly what portion of it is existing and what might have to be, how that would play into that. I guess the first question that I would have, and just to be clear with the board, so the decision that was made on the record in the minutes is not, you're saying that was not binding pending submission of the Mylar. I guess I'm just confused as to whether it's appropriate to be having a further discussion on design at this point. Again, I think it's not our understanding that that's why we're here tonight. So I guess it would be good if the board could just clarify that that's
Um, you know, as far as I'm concerned, we screwed up by not catching that barn on there. I would waive it myself. That's up to a vote of the members.
Is that something,
I mean, of why you would want a road that close to that barn, I'm not sure.
yeah, I mean, again, I'm speculating a little bit on, you know, on behalf of our client. Again, I wish I could get him on the phone to speak to that. I suspect that location is being driven by existing conditions, you know, that portion of that or the clearing, if not part of that road was already kind of existing. And was kind of dictating that route. I mean, if would it help the board just to, I mean, to be able to you know, get everybody on kind of solid, you know, legal grounds or whatever, you know, if we were to formally request a waiver for that and the board voted on that tonight, I mean, would that help things? I'm just trying to problem solve here, you know, how we can, I feel like we're on the 1 yard line, you know, everything's been approved. We're ready to like submit the Mylar, you know, so, I mean, whatever we can do at this point to help just get this over the final 1 yard here. I think we're willing to do, if the board would be willing to grant a waiver for that, if that would make everybody feel good about kind of making sure that this is all done properly. I mean, we're happy to do that here tonight and just kind of request a formal waiver for that.
Jim, since you're looking at the map there, does the driveway or road or whatever it is where it goes by the barn, does that pass the point that's under the requirement that it meets the Wolcott Highway standards ordinance? And if it is, it may be somewhat immaterial to us, but more so whoever decides to buy or sell the property. If it doesn't conform to the Wolcott Highway standards, and that was part of the section that was contingent upon meeting the ordinance, then that's a whole nother issue to deal with, and it would have had to conform to it anyway. But I don't know if it's past the point where we said, you know, that it had to be up to the code.
It has to be up to the code all the way up into lot 2.
But I don't believe the highway standards dictate setbacks.
No, our zoning does.
Right.
And I'd have to ask, so this is a question for Tom. Tom, in the language and the findings of fact that are written, does it reference that the application needs to be in conformance with the subsection that includes setback conformance? Meaning, is it not implicit but implied that the setback requirement needs to be met in order for a subdivision to be granted without overtly having to state that?
Okay.
That's a question for Tom. You know, since you draft the findings of fact, because I know I read in there sometimes that, you know, there are some sections in there like, you know, usable lot and et cetera, but is one of those the one that includes the setback requirement?
Right. But we just told John Harris you couldn't do that because he didn't have setbacks.
I'm not seeing anything on the minutes about that.
It would be in the findings of facts that Tom writes up, you know, when something's approved. There's a kind of a list, usually on the 4th page, that sort of has some bulleted points of the subsections of the subdivision regulations that, you know, sort of need to be met automatically, regardless of the size or shape or any of this other stuff that we go through. It's sort of like a baseline requirement for a subdivision to even be approved without conditions. I just don't have a copy of any of them in front of me right now.
On the road, you mean?
Just in terms of, you know, the general regulations that it's implied that any subdivision is obligated to meet, you know, irrespective of conditional stuff or, you know, odd circumstances. It's just kind of like the baseline of like, okay, your subdivision has to meet these base requirements in order to even be considered. Then we can talk about anything additional. And when you write the findings of facts, Tom, they're usually listed in there. Well, the one that comes to mind is usable lot and access to lots, but I just don't know if you know, what else you put in there.
Right.
I'm not sure we got to that even.
We haven't got there.
It was more about even hung up on that road.
But
mean,
Tom, when you draft that, I know it comes from a template, and you know, there's some repeated subsections in there that are always the same, right?
Yes.
Is one of those the setback requirement, and that's the part that I just don't remember if that one is always in there.
Is there an approval document on for this other than what's listed in the minutes?
You're confusing what was approved. We looked at that engineering plan and we approved the shape of the subdivision because the first survey wouldn't work.
Yeah.
That's only approved. Okay, this is a good plan. Let's go from here.
Sure.
Now you're looking at the plan. That's where we're at now.
So I guess what I'm asking is, has the project been approved? I guess is the question. And I think Maxfield is just as a follow-up to that, is there a findings of fact? Is there an approval letter for this project?
We didn't reach that.
Okay.
What we reached was you had to have access to lot 2 and 3, and the proposed driveway going up to lot 2 actually had to be a road. I don't believe we got beyond any of that.
Okay. But there was no, I guess I'm confused at the process then. I mean, what are you saying, that there would have been another hearing required?
We would have had our final hearing to review.
Review the Mylar,
Yeah.
the actual final document that gets filed with land records.
But that wouldn't have been required as part of a public hearing. Right? I mean, I think, again, my understanding of the process is that we fulfilled the public hearing requirements, right? We got approval of the project. The approval was received with conditions. We addressed the conditions, resubmitted a plan for just to kind of close the loop and to prove that we met all those conditions. That plan was then approved, meaning that the project was then approved, and all we need to do was submit the Mylar to that's the very final step, is just submitting the Mylar, which just is the filing of the final document in the land records, which means at that November hearing, that would have been the final approval, which would have generated the approval letter. Am I misunderstanding that?
In November, when they came back, it was, we'll make these changes, we'll do this, we'll do that, but we can't get final approval on that.
But
Preliminary approval.
that's not my understanding. My understanding is that happened in October. In October, that's what happened. We were here with a plan that didn't conform, right? We worked through the issues on why it didn't conform. The project at that point was approved with conditions. That's what the minutes say, right? It was approved with conditions, and those conditions were that we address those issues, which we did, right? We addressed those issues and came back in November with this exact plan. And got the final approval with all those changes in November, which would have been final approval. Right? That's my understanding of the process, right? So then at that point, there would have been the final approval would have been issued with any findings of facts or anything, that you're talking about, Maxfield, that and that would have been generated from that November hearing.
No. It would be generated once this final Mylar meets their requirements. That's when it ends.
So do we have the exact wording of the approval of the conditions?
I mean, they're in the minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious now, what are exactly those conditions that were stated? They include the private road? Did they include?
And I'm not here trying to, I'm not trying to play gotcha. I'm not trying to skirt around any regulations or anything here, but I do believe that, I mean, there is process to this, right? There is a process, and certain timelines that are associated with these. And my question at this point is that I don't feel like it's appropriate for us to be going back and rehashing details of the design at this point. I think that from a process standpoint, I think that's done. And I think that's, that was done in November. We're past the, any kind of 45-day timeline from that point to be able to go back and rehash any of this stuff. Again, not that I'm, I want to problem solve here tonight. We want to make sure that we can get this again across the one yard line here, but I'm not following the process that's being described here in terms of there being an additional step that we haven't gone through. Because the way that I look at this and the way that I understand the regulations, I think we went through the whole process. I think we went.
The problem is it doesn't meet the zoning regulations right now. So the problem we're trying to solve is how do we meet the zoning regulations?
Right. So again, we can make a request here tonight for a formal waiver, of that, if that would help. Just to be able to fully document all that and not have that as a loose end, if that would help the board.
Well, it doesn't help those people who just came in that we said, no, we can't do this subdivision because it doesn't meet the zoning.
So this road is constructed already.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Because I mean, just below that, it looks like it gets pretty steep. I don't know if it's beyond 10% or whatnot. But it looks like this is probably the steepest part of the whole road.
Right. Yes.
Which would probably require some modification to the road at that point.
We're great. The grading that the proposed grading that we're showing is 10% grading. So, and I think there is some slight modification that you can see. That there does need to be some slight modification in order to get it to that 10%. But yeah, what we're showing there as proposed grades is 10%. There definitely is some steep grades right in the vicinity of that structure, for sure. And that very well may be what is dictating the route of that.
Mhm.
You can see, you can see there's some really steep existing contours. If you were to move that road, down the page to clear that barn, there are there's kind of a big kind of drop off right there.
As you'd have to go below that, around that even.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would definitely be.
But you would probably have to go that far to get away from that barn anyway.
In terms of,
As the setback that we're trying to clear up here.
I mean, yeah, possibly, yeah. I can appreciate the the concern and the issue. But again, I just want to, I kind of want to go back to the process issue here and just, kind of settle that issue as to whether or not this project is approved or not.
I will just add one thing on that. It's not going to be approved until the road is built. That was one of the conditions. So if nothing else, the road needs to meet the Wolcott Highway Standard Ordinance. On the other part, in terms of the building and the right of way, at this point, I'm ready to contact VLCT to get an opinion on whether or not we can even approve an application that clearly violates our zoning and subdivision regulations in terms of setbacks. I don't have an answer to that. VLCT would be my first go-to.
I'm just going to see if I can give Ryan another shout here. So I think, again, I think we're very close here, close to the end. I think if this is the one sticking point, I think we can commit to, figuring something out with regards to this barn and again, I'm a little hesitant to make too many promises here without our clients' input on this, and again, not being intimately involved with the design process here, and what all of the decision factors were that led to that, the route of where we're showing that road. But if moving the right of way and the road, would solve the issue here,
It would, and you know, looking at this contour map, it really looks like if you skirted away from that building, that you would avoid those steepest areas.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to swing, you'd have to start that swing, I think, pretty far down because it looks like that whole area is pretty steep there.
Well, the area that it takes that first jog below the building.
Where your 113-foot radius point is.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and road issues aside, I would want to clear up whether or not these septic systems do have wastewater permit numbers, and if they do they need to be on the Mylar? Because they are approved through the state, whether they're installed or not, I don't know the answer to that. My understanding was that they needed to be on the Mylar if they were approved by the state. If they have a wastewater number, they needed to be on here.
It's not what the regulations say. In my, you know, I mean, I'm looking at them right now and I don't see anything with regards to proposed, proposed conditions, you know, other than what we're already showing. Proposed lot lines, access.
At one time, we tried to have it that we would show the shields, the well shields and the septic shields, and the state basically said you can't do that. So we don't really have any control over
Okay.
septic and water at all.
Again, you know, these are, you know, those exist as part of the wastewater permit, you know, in a public database. You know, they're shown here on this plan as part of the approved zoning file, right? So everything is filed, everything is available, you know, but not necessarily on that one Mylar.
A future note for the board, though, I believe that may have changed. I was in the sewer class, I think it was last Thursday. And they were saying those shields needed to be recorded in the land records.
Really?
Be an interesting thing for us to look into. Is why I'm getting that, because I was sitting in the class with a woman from the state and they were mandating that it was, and maybe my misunderstanding, maybe this being filed in the zoning office is what she's talking about.
Maybe. Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me that the state might start pushing for that. So if we were to relocate the road and the right of way, would we be then cleared to refile the Mylar?
Have to study this map a little better than I did obviously last time.
I mean, sure.
And this isn't all one.
In that packet I gave you was the most recent one.
Just probably this here.
It has a revision date of 11/16/23. I'll give you another copy here.
Probably dragged it over here.
And my date is also 10/3.
You're looking at the date
Oh,
in the
revision.
title block. There's a rev date on top of the title block.
Yep.
Yeah, this is not the recent, that's
So
this one,
I guess.
yeah, yeah, the rev date of 11/16 there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we got this, I guess we just got a paper copy, but it was the same thing as this Mylar right here. We were kind of wondering where the corner pins were for lot 3, because it doesn't depict them on this, which is kind of why we were wondering if that shaded area was part of lot 3.
The shaded area is definitely part of
Right, right, I understand that, but it's not showing any corner monuments like it does for the rest.
Yeah, yeah.
It shows it on your engineering drawing, your
Yes.
site plan.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I think that's a valid observation there. I would agree unless I'm missing something. Again, I'm not a surveyor, but unless I'm missing something, I would agree that those should be monumented and we're showing them to be monumented on our plan.
Yes.
And I don't have a good answer as to why the survey Mylar wouldn't also be showing those pins. So that's certainly something we can look into and address. I think that's a legitimate comment for sure.
The proposed buildings on lot 3, they're at least 25 feet from the property line.
Yeah, there's yeah, the building envelope is shown.
That's more of a zoning thing than a
Yeah,
subdivision.
so on our site plan, we are showing building envelopes on all those lots. So there's a 25-foot setback there. Yeah.
Yeah, all I'm really seeing is that barn
Okay.
easement.
Yeah.
And again, really to meet the letter of the law, it has to be 25 feet from the easement. Next, Phil, did we go through the complete subdivision requirements? The plat review on this? I mean, we did approve it with the conditions, so we must have gone through the rest of them.
That would be my recollection, yeah, because if we hadn't, then we probably wouldn't have been able to conditionally approve it.
Right. Yeah,
In looking at the, the design here, it does look like it meets all the criteria that we usually run through.
yeah, it was just a matter of missing that barn there, not seeing that. 'Cause we were,
So, yeah, I think we got a couple question marks here, and to sort of ease everybody's, not confusion, but like get us in a place where we're better understanding these few tiny things that are kind of holding us back on a couple fronts here. We could recess the hearing until next month and give everybody time to get some questions answered. I don't know if this is an absolute rush, but it sounds like, in terms of like the slope of the road and what that's going to be. And then if the right of way can be moved to avoid the barn and make everybody happy with the 25-foot setback. I can contact VLCT if I need to, or the Regional Planning Commission, and ask them about that. Or if the road is just going to get moved, then it's a moot point.
I mean, can you elaborate a little bit more on the slope issue? Because I'm happy to. I think we can address any concern there tonight. You're talking about slope of the road?
Yeah, one of the conditions was that it met the highway standard ordinance.
Yeah, so we're showing proposed grading for that road that gets that entire private road to 10% or less. So there's some proposed grading that was necessary in order to get it down to 10%. And then in conjunction with it being paved, it would then meet the town road standards.
Here's, is the barn in the road right away?
it's not, it's in the right of way.
It's in the right of way, not in the road.
In the road right of way.
It's in the road right of way. It's not in the road.
Okay.
Different things.
Does the town care, the town legislation or regulations care if there is a barn in the right of way?
25-foot setback from the right of way. That's what our zoning is.
Right. Does the part of the zoning that represents the town road
It's not the
care,
this isn't a town road. This is a private road.
or a road that meets the town standards?
I don't think the town standards speak on that.
Okay.
'Cause there's lots of pre-existing buildings that are within that. I mean, some of them are in the right of way, it's like the one that you had in town there.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question about the road grade?
It does in my mind.
Yeah, I just zoomed in on the map, the design there, and it's noted, both aspects are noted, the surface condition and the grade. So as long as it gets done, then the subdivision will be legal. If it doesn't, then it won't be. So it looks good on my end.
Okay. I mean, obviously, from our perspective, we'd love to close the hearing, and not have to come back next month. So if relocating the road and dealing with the barn issue, if that's the only thing, and we can agree tonight to address that, and then, resubmit the Mylar showing that change, and would that be acceptable to the board to kind of get us over the finish line here?
And you're willing to step out there without talking to Ryan?
Well, I think I'm comfortable saying if as long as we can do that, right, that would resolve everything and that would, you know, kind of get us over the finish line. Now, if when we talk to Ryan, there's some reason why we can't do that, then I think we have to come back to you guys, right? And then we have to figure it out from there, and then we would, you know, need to come back. But you know, I don't see much, I don't really see an alternative at this point, looking at the plan.
Well, you know, it really looks to me by this topography here that you'd be really cutting that bank and you'd be cutting it right next to that barn to get your grade on the existing road.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it might require a, you know, retaining wall or something. Yeah.
Yeah, which would make it even more obtrusive into the road.
Yeah.
I would be fine with that. The condition that the road is moved so that the existing buildings are meet the setback requirements of the town of Wolcott.
And I'm not familiar enough with the regulations, but there's definitely a setback from the right of way, not just the property line.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, I think I'm, you know, I'm okay kind of making that promise from our end. Again, if that makes everybody happy. And again, you know, obviously we have to discuss that with the client. And, you know, if for whatever reason that doesn't work, you know, then we'll need to come back and figure out another solution.
Okay.
So did I hear Jim make a motion that we, like say conditionally approve? It was already conditionally approved, but conditionally approve with the additional condition that the setbacks of the right of way are in conformance with the zoning and subdivision regulations.
That is what you heard.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion or questions? I have none. All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? So we have a conditional approval.
Okay.
Sorry about the mix up. This,
No,
we had
listen.
this sketch.
Yep.
There's a lot on it.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm not helping things by you know, coming into the game late either. And I, you know, I understand that. And I totally understand the board's, you know, position in this and the position that you guys are in. And I appreciate you, you know, working with us to find a solution here where we can, you know, hopefully we can work everything out and we'll be good to go. So.
It's especially after we just told the last guy specifically.
It's bad timing. Right. If it hadn't been for that, maybe this never would have came up, but yeah.
Probably would.
Okay, well, I appreciate everybody's time.
Got any other business, Maxwell?
I do not have any. I'm sorry I was late. Their practice ran about 15, 20 minutes later than it was supposed to. So I guess everybody took care of the first application and approving the minutes.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
All right, then I guess we're gonna close the meeting.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.